No MAGA.
No going back.
Just vibes. This is Vibes Only, the podcast that promises to check the vibes of American politics every week. And the vibes this week.
When the latest startling development in the 2024 presidential race, the son of Democratic icon Robert Kennedy suspends his independent campaign and endorses Republican nominee Donald Trump.
We'll also discuss the debate about the debate and how Trump is casting doubt on the whole thing and pulling out some classic projection.
The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate.
And we're going to dive into JD Vance's comments that Trump has been, quote unquote, clear that he would not impose a national abortion ban and would even veto it if a bill came to his desk.
Joining us this week to check all those vibes and more is Deja Foxx. Deja is an activist and political strategist and last week became the very first content creator to speak at the Democratic National Convention.
People my age are making big decisions about our lives, and we deserve a president who has our back. Not some power-hungry millionaire reality TV personality who only cares about himself. We need Kamala Harris.
Stick around for an It's Giving. We'll pull up our group chat and we'll send you off with a good vibe. Let's get into it. Glennis, we have a special guest today from not only my phone, but also the TV screen.
Yeah, Deja Foxx. I'm absolutely super stoked. Deja's going to be joining us today. She is an activist. She is an organizer. She's a political strategist. She's the founder of GenZ Girl Gang. She's also the youngest political staffer on a presidential campaign ever. At age 19, she worked for Kamala Harris's first presidential race. And she also was, this past week, the first content creator to speak at the DNC, and she absolutely crushed it.
She really did. She is having a moment. She's been having a moment, and
She is
the moment. Let's bring her on.
Here we are, post DNC. We're all alive. We all survived. And not only that, but Deja, you were the very first content creator to speak at the DNC. Major.
Yeah, big stuff. Still sleeping it off, still resting and relaxing for sure. But yeah, it was a big moment. It was a long time coming, lots of prep work. So when it finally happened, in a lot of ways I was relieved. I was very anxious about doing it. I also, this is tea, but at the very beginning, my teleprompter didn't work. So I was just...
Okay, well, you killed it.
Nightmare fuel, for
Totally.
real.
I never would have known that.
Totally.
Showing up to a test and not knowing there was a test or something, kind of thing that lives on in nightmares.
For sure.
I was able to get through the speech. I felt really good about it. I've watched it back a few times now, and I'm really proud that I was able to share pieces of my story, right? Uplift where I'm from, Arizona, the people that raised me, a single mom, the community I'm from.
I was a free lunch kid, raised in public housing, and I got my health care at Planned Parenthood.
And also, I think as I was crafting this speech, I knew I had two audiences, one in that room, like the delegates and the electeds and all of our folks, but also a bigger audience at home who might see this on their TV screen, might see this on their phone screen. And so I really wanted to talk directly to a younger version of myself that might be out there watching. And I got to deliver a really powerful line about how we deserve a future where any free lunch kid can walk through the gates of their dream college, which is true for me as a first-generation college student. So really impactful, really meaningful, and really full circle as well as someone who worked on Kamala Harris's first presidential run.
Yeah, let's get into that. I know that you have been Team Kamala for a long time. How did what first inspired you about her? What drew you to work on that campaign? What was that experience like? And then watching her grow from then to now.
I got my start when I was 15 or 16 in the reproductive rights space around comprehensive sex ed reform, birth control access here in Arizona. Born out of my own experiences, having moved out of my house really young and living with a boyfriend, an experience of hidden homelessness. And so that being said, I'm nearly a decade in the reproductive rights space. However, when I was 19, I was a sophomore in college, first-gen college student, as I mentioned, had a history in this organizing background, had been building my own career as a content creator, but also was doing brand strategy at a high level as it related to Gen Z and Gen Z marketing. And so all that kind of came together toward a position at the Kamala Harris for the People campaign in 2019 as influencer and surrogate strategist, where I was one of the youngest staffers at that level of leadership in history, right? I was full-time out of the headquarters on the digital team. And the way that it actually came about, the story time behind it, I was unpacking my sophomore year dorm and I got a DM from someone on the campaign, near the campaign, with just a job description. And I was like, yeah, I've got some friends that just graduated this year. Like, I'll send you some names. We're like, no, wait. I'm like trying to suggest that you should apply for this. And I was like, word. Right? Like literally, I physically was unpacking my clothes into my sophomore year dorm.
Yeah.
So I put my name in the hat. And 2 weeks later, I was packing up that dorm. I was moving to Baltimore, which is a city I'd never been to. I signed a lease on an apartment it was questionable if I could afford, and started a job that didn't exist before I got there. And I did all of that because Kamala Harris is someone who I see myself in a way that I've never seen myself before, right? She's an Asian American woman. She's a first generation American. She was someone raised by a working single mom. She's someone who's been a first in nearly every position she's ever held. And I knew then what I know now, which is that this is a fight worth fighting. This is a candidate worth fighting for.
What are some things that people might not know about her that you want people to know about her?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Outside of the brat memes and the edits and the fan cams, I have come to know her to be someone who embodies what it means to be fearless. I mentioned this earlier, but she is someone who has been the first in nearly every position she's ever held, right? I think that speaks to her character. And there's something that her mother would always say to her, which I think is a real guiding principle in the way she operates, not only with people, right? When you see her look at those little girls and look them in the eye and tell them they can do anything, but also in her policies, which is that you should be the first to do many things, but don't be the last. And Kamala Harris is about holding the door open.
Say that. Absolutely. And before we move on from convention, we have to comment on the creator press
journalist
thief.
Wait, also,
what is that about?
We would be remiss if we didn't say that you were the co-host of the most fun, most lit party at convention, Hotties for Harris.
Right. No, I think it's really important that people know that I am both a political girly and a party girl. Like, I do both. I both speak at the DNC and throw the hottest
that party
parties.
was so fun. So fun.
It really was. It really was.
But yeah, back to the beef. So I had a little bit of insight that this might be coming because I had chatted with some journalists about their credentials and our credentials and just like general feelings of things. But I think the truth is this, that young people and people across the age spectrum are actually getting their news in different ways, right? And sometimes it's not articles behind a paywall or cable news that requires setup and monthly subscription, right? People are getting their news by and large on social, particularly through vertical video. And that's a huge shift from even 4 years ago, but one that anyone who was paying attention could have seen coming.
Totally.
So it's about recognizing that this is a shifting media landscape, that there are things that journalists can do that content creators can't, things that content creators can do that journalists can't. But there's also a lot of overlap and a lot of differences. And what I hope people know about the content creators, the 200 of us that were credentialed to be this DNC covering the event, is that we are so much more than just influencers, right? In fact, we are so much more than just content creators, though that is a full-time job in and of itself. Like me, have been reproductive justice advocates for nearly a decade. There were people there who are doctors, who are lawyers, right? Like they're practicing OBGYNs that took the time out of their schedule to be there covering this event. There are people who run nonprofits and all these other things, right? And so I think it's important to note that content creators are oftentimes one-person shows, right? And they should put some respect on our names for the fact that we write, script, we're the makeup team, the hair, the stylist, the talent, the editor, the moderator, the poster, and it takes a lot of work and is often work in addition to the work we do that brings the expertise that has built us a platform anyways.
So we've seen more dead animals in headlines than I ever thought we would during a presidential campaign. And it looks like the latest roadkill is RFK Jr.'s entire campaign.
Yep.
So last week we had RFK officially drop out and, shocker, endorse Donald Trump. What was your reaction to this news? Is this a surprise? How are you feeling about it?
So RFK Jr. dropped out during the DNC, I think in part to give this like spike to attention, because what we know is that Donald Trump cannot stand not being the center of attention. And the DNC by ratings did better than the RNC every single day. Not only that, but which is just, this is giving weirdo behavior on so many levels, but RFK Jr. joined Donald Trump on stage at his rally here in my home state of Arizona, just shortly after dropping out, to endorse him, to give him whatever boost. And not only that, but they did it at the same venue, the same arena that Kamala Harris just recently had her 15,000 plus person rally that his supporters were calling AI generated. They were falsely claiming filled by paid actors, like absolutely conspiratorial. And so, you know, my reaction to that is, why in my home state? Why in Arizona? Pack it up. We don't want it here. We don't want it here. Take it somewhere else. And also, like, weird and loser vibes. I just think it really shows what we know to be true about Donald Trump, which is that he loves nothing more than to be in the spotlight.
Yeah, he definitely, because the video was leaked by RFK's campaign where he like asked Trump, if I drop out, will you endorse, or if I drop out and endorse you, will you give me a cabinet position? Which was like straight from Secession, like a parody of how a presidential campaign should be run. And it looks like it's playing out in real time for us now.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I mean, it feels like RFK's whole campaign was a fire sale from start to finish, right? From like giving away his VP slot to one of his biggest donors to backing positions, sort of flip-flopping all over the place. He was always funded by the same people who funded Donald Trump. Timothy Mellon is the single biggest donor to both of them, because this was always
his plan,
sort of a joint effort. Like he was either as a useful idiot or a willing participant, he was always part of the Trump election strategy. And so to have them finally merge into like a mega boss weirdo, I guess at least is helpful for the people to see, and we can disabuse ourselves of the notion that this was some sort of like grassroots movement for a third party, like it's been made out to be.
Right. I will say the Kennedy family is continuing to distance themselves from Bobby. They said, our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. It is a sad ending to a sad story. Close book. Yikes.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
One thing I will say, Deja, you said something about the paywalls and how most people are getting their news and information online. Alex Perlman, Pearlmania, he posted this morning the whalehead story, which is also in reference to Brian, your earlier Carnage roadkill comment. He like took a head off a whale and put it on the head of the car, or the hood of the car. What is it? What's the top of the car called?
The roof.
The roof? Okay, so we put it on the roof of the car. And okay, not to add to layers to this lore, but Kik, his daughter, who's now apparently dating Ben Affleck, I don't know if you knew this. Yeah, cheated on J-Lo with Kik Kennedy. Anyway, this story broke on the internet 3 days ago, and only today did it hit legacy media. And guess what? There's a paywall. So just saying, the internet is breaking the news stories around RFK Jr. and always has been.
I guess I would flag moving forward. The data so far shows that RFK dropping out and endorsing isn't having a huge impact on the state of the race.
Yeah.
But what does have a huge impact is if RFK has been promised a cabinet position. Do either of you have like what's our worst nightmare scenario for cabinet position for RFK?
Okay, two things. One, I would say EPA, but then I know under Project
I was going to say that
doesn't
too.
exist.
Yeah.
Something like wildlife protection or something.
The EPA
Right.
will not exist in a second Trump presidency. And then I think he would be like Health and Human Services, and he's so anti-vax. It's like, ooh, we don't want that.
I think HHS is the nightmare pick.
The nightmare blunt rotation is RFK Jr. as head of HHS.
Yeah. Hopefully we never find out, because they're not going to tell us unless he wins.
Also, quickly, Brian, he had about 5% of the voters, right? So what do we think is going to happen there? Are they going to go with Trump, or are they going to be like, I don't know what's up?
It's super varied by state. There were like Georgia, for example, had a higher RFK percentage than some of the blue wall states like Pennsylvania or Michigan. They are the least enthused to vote, are the RFK voters, compared to Harris or Trump supporters. And so a lot of them are just going to sort of just drop off, is the expectation. But Harris did get a boost and RFK got a drop after the switch from Biden to Harris. And so she had already pulled a significant number of those voters in. I think some chunk of the remainder will go to Trump and some of them will go to Harris. But like overall, it doesn't seem to be affecting sort of the 4-point, 3-point margin in most of these states.
Great.
Okay, well, we have to go straight from whale head on the car to chicken in the debate.
Oh,
because
he is the king of segues today. Wow.
We have a lot of animal references in this F, guys. Man. But I, again, not surprised, but absolutely gagged that Trump is now threatening to drop out of the debate that has been like reconfirmed and then double confirmed. And then like it's your friend texting you like, you sure you know where the restaurant is? Like, it is a 7 p.m. reservation. Don't be late. Like, that has been the last month. And Trump confirms every time. And now suddenly he's like, oh, I might have other plans that day. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Also crazy because he doesn't have another job. Like, she's fully the vice president of the United States and he has no job. He is unemployed. So crazy. What else are you doing? What could you possibly be doing that's more important?
He's so scared. But we talked about this. Scared. Like he kind of needs it. That's like his one. That's why they were pushing to have the first debate be on Fox, knowing that it'd be a much more forgiving audience and moderator, and that it's most likely the main point that the majority of Americans will be watching a debate. A second debate they might not watch, but a first one they're going to watch. He is shitting his pants. He is scared.
He should.
Totally.
He should be scared. One of the first things that put Kamala Harris on that national stage was her in those Senate hearings, right? Absolutely tearing apart men like him, men like Brett Kavanaugh, right?
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question, but
male versus female.
There are medical procedures
that the government has the power to make a decision about a man's body.
I thought you were asking about medical procedures that are unique to men.
I'll repeat the question. Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
And she is through and through a prosecutor. As joyful and compassionate as she is focused and she is tough. I would love to see her get in her prosecutor bag, hold Donald Trump to account, prosecute the case, if you will.
Yes.
And frankly, I think about what happened on the NABJ stage, the National Association of Black Journalists stage, where Donald Trump was only even slightly pushed on, right, by a Black woman, a journalist, and the ways that he lashed out through a huge tantrum, a huge Trump tantrum. And I can only imagine that if his team were to allow him opposite a woman like Kamala Harris, who is strong and opinionated and well-spoken and concise, who says what she means and means what she says, that Mr. Trump probably get himself into some trouble.
For sure. And that is exactly why we're having this back and forth over the mics, because Trump's biggest vulnerability is people remembering how much of a shit show his administration was. And people truly have forgotten, because we have had so much happen in the interim, but he's reminding them with the more unhinged he has been. 40 posts on Truth Social while Kamala Harris spoke at the DNC. He's really off the rails. And so 100%. His team is we have to keep the mics muted so that he doesn't sound as crazy as he is. And the Harris team is unmute him then. Let's see.
What Kamala Harris said, if you got something to say
it to my face.
Iconic.
Because if you got something to say, unmute the mics. Yeah, unmute the mics.
100% that.
So I'll add that this is kind of a disaster of Trump's own making, right? He is the one, his campaign, his camp is the one that made this race about fitness, about mental capacity and fitness. If people see him, a man who by the end of his term will be 82, and Kamala Harris, a woman who works out every morning, on the same stage
and eats her bran flakes,
they're going to see a distinct difference in fitness and capability. And that is not just due to age. That has everything also to do with qualifications. That man has been nothing but a TV personality and a fraud, whereas Kamala Harris has only had one boss, and that boss is the people. She is qualified for this job. And I think both of those things are going to show.
Absolutely. We are 2 weeks from the debate. We are less than 2 weeks from the debate. So we are on official debate watch.
Yeah, debate watch, HQ, right here.
I would say Trump's second biggest vulnerability after his clear decline and just general unhinged nature is reproductive rights. One of the most salient issues of the entire campaign, and they are doing 24/7 damage control on the catastrophe that is the Republicans' position on this issue.
Can you commit, Senator, sitting right here with me today, that if you and Donald Trump are elected, that you will not impose a federal ban on abortion?
I can absolutely commit that, Kristen, and Donald Trump has been as clear about that as possible.
I've been talking to Republicans, including Senator Lindsey Graham just last week, who've made it very clear that if Donald Trump is elected, if you are elected, they will continue to press this point. Senator Graham said to me, I'm going to keep saying that there should be a federal ban. If such a piece of legislation landed on Donald Trump's desk, would he veto it?
Well, I think it'd be very clear he would not support it. I mean, he said that explicitly.
It?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not supporting it as the President of the United States, you fundamentally have to veto it.
So he would veto a federal abortion ban?
I think he would. He said that explicitly, that he would.
Are we buying? Are we buying?
No.
Not sold.
Not sold on that one. They're pandering, obviously.
I feel like they're trying to walk it back. But here's what we know. They've been consistent about pandering to a small but loud minority. We know that the vast majority of Americans are with us when it comes to abortion. We are the majority, something like 80% of us, right? The vast majority of Americans are with us when it comes to IVF, an even higher percentage, right? And an even higher percentage when we think about things like birth control. And yet these men and their Project 2025 counterparts and ex-coworkers are hell-bent on getting rid of all of it, right? On chipping away at reproductive rights.
Totally. And we have the receipts on Donald Trump. Literally, he's bragged about ending Roe v. Wade.
The fact that I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade after 50 years of trying.
In 2015, he said that there has to be some sort of punishment for a woman who gets an abortion.
You have to ban it.
Do you believe believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
And then in March, he talked about having a 15-week national abortion ban.
The number of weeks now, people are agreeing on 15, and I'm thinking in terms of that.
In March of this year. So, J.D. Vance, you are full of shit.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. If there's ever a time not to believe someone's extreme pivot on on an issue like this, it would be from him right now.
Right.
Like I don't think that that's worth the time that it takes or the air it takes to say it. And probably even more so, what is the Republican Party incentivized to do? They cannot agree on anything. We just had the House of Representatives with the least productive session in a century, led by Republicans and MAGA Mike Johnson. The only thing that the Republican Senate, currently minority, potentially majority after November, can agree on are abortion bans and bans around like things like IVF. They cannot get 40 co-sponsors on a bill to put a solution forth on the border, or they cannot get 40 Republicans to co-sponsor a bill on crime that would address what they claim to be a huge crime wave despite counterfactuals. What they can get 40 Republican co-sponsors on are bills to limit, restrict abortion access and other reproductive rights. And so when in this hypothetical scenario where Republicans control both Congress and the White House, and they're trying to score some kind of political points, what do you think they're going to pass and sign if it when they can't agree on anything else? You know, like, of course he would sign it. Of course he would sign it.
Yeah. I just think about like states like Texas too, which is a conservative sandbox and playground. And you see how abortion is effectively outlawed there. It's considered a class 1 felony and you could get $100,000 fine. So it's like, I just don't believe them for a second. It's dangerous. And I just don't want people to be distracted by that or only see that one clip of JD Vance and then internalize it and think, oh, okay, we're good. We are not good.
Right. And I think they're rolling with what they see, which is that we're winning. Abortion is a winning issue. We have won every time abortion has been on the ballot. Since the overturn of Roe versus Wade, we have won. And they know that it will be the defining issue of this election for folks who thought about sitting it out, thought about sitting at home. They are going to turn out on this issue. And, I live here in Arizona, a state where we face the threat of a total abortion ban that dated all the way back to 1864, that was put in place by a man who married teenage girls, which was not normal for the time either. Even his counterparts thought this was weird, tried to have him unseated for his behaviors. This was a bill born out of control that our state Supreme Court saw fit to reimpose on people like me who were born and raised and live in this state. And so I want to be very clear that the stakes are high and that people have turned out time and time again on this issue and will in November. And not only on these races like the presidential race, but all the way down ballot for ballot initiatives to unseat justices, Arizona Supreme Court justices, Texas Supreme Court justices who have played a hand in restricting these reproductive rights. And so the political implications are huge. And there's going to be a big shift come November. And I know this because I literally hit the phones, I hit the doors out at places like Arizona, and I talk with voters. I mean, I recently had a conversation with a woman who was in her 70s who had voted Republican her entire life, but because of the issue of abortion, would be voting Democrat up and down the ballot this year because she remembers a time when abortion was banned nationally. And she knows what the real implications of those bans are on people's lives, on her life. And so, that's just one of many stories, but the numbers don't lie. Totally. And this is a winning issue.
Yeah. You come for our bodies, we will come for you at the ballot box.
Period. Hey, Glynis, I like your hat.
Thank you. Also, do you like my bracelet? My vote bracelet?
Oh my gosh. Is that from the DNC?
No, it's from Social Goods, where my hat is also from.
Oh my God. What is Social Goods?
Social Goods. It's a merch store founded by two sisters that creates really cool merch that also gives back to nonprofits.
That's pretty epic. I do love to rock some political apparel when I'm going from door knocking to fundraiser to creating content. Yeah. I love the hat that you're wearing. It says, "Every body is on the ballot."
period. And then my bracelet, which is also social goods, just says vote. And I love a bracelet. I love a stack. So I was happy to add it. They've done so much good work. To date, they've donated over $500,000 to over 60 nonprofits through their merch.
That's incredible. And people have definitely seen their stuff. I'm sure you've seen the 1973 shirt.
Well, everyone was asking me at the DNC because I had my Civic Slut hat on, which is also
Classic.
Shop Social Goods.
Well, we love to see it. So if you want to get some iconic merch so that you can rep your values, then head to social-goods.com/courier, where you can now get 20% off your order.
So this is a clip that went kind of viral while we were all at the DNC of Trump literally telling a union leader that he had to shut up and go.
Illegal drugs are flowing into this country at an alarming rate, with only 5% being intercepted at the border. Okay. You got it. Folks, let me finish up here, please.
Eek. It's giving that Judge Judy meme where she's pointing at her watch. She's like, wrap it up.
You know what I'm talking about?
Giving cults. It's giving cults. Yeah. It's giving, you know, like in an old timey movie when they like throw a cane and like pull someone off a stage.
100.
Yeah.
I mean, it's giving. Why do I feel bad for him?
I know.
I never feel bad for a Trump supporter, but all of a sudden,
he's a meanie. He's a mean guy. Period.
It's giving bully.
Yeah,
it is. It is. Yeah, I was gonna say it's giving Regina George for me for sure.
It's giving Mean Girl.
Yeah, it is.
It's giving You Can't Sit With Us. So also, I think this leaked this past week. You know, when you're on stage, if you're delivering a speech, there's like TVs at the floor level to either teleprompt you and give you stage notes. And these 3 photos leaked this week when Carrie Lake at the RNC was introing Trump, and it was like 2 minutes. And then it was like, you have to stop. And then it was like, shut up, Trump needs to go on stage. I mean, they didn't say shut up, but it was just like hit after hit after hit. So I think that Donald Trump is a very impatient man. And when baby wants his bottle, he wants it.
And I'll tell you what it's not giving. It's not giving team player.
No.
Because we know that at the top of the ticket, right? Like you are meant to give your shine, help out with fundraising. Like these conventions are really important for the down ballot races. And it was not giving.
Literally, Joe Biden went on at like midnight on Monday night because every single person had their airtime.
Yeah, we could have used with some stage notes in that situation, but definitely not Trump like literally pushing somebody off of the stage.
No,
a little
it's giving pattern. I sense a pattern with Donald Trump.
Yeah, definitely.
It's giving Arizona's going to have 2 blue senators.
Oh.
Yes, we love to see it. I think that the energy in my group chats was so high, like every single day of the DNC for the past week and since then. People are just like riding this wave. People want to get involved. I've gotten more questions in the last 2 weeks as to how can I help, which campaigns should I volunteer for, donate to, et cetera, than I did in probably the first 8 months of the year combined, which is awesome to see. What is happening in non-political news that I don't follow?
Well, right before the convention, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars released a song that no one knew about because Lady Gaga 7 is coming out shortly. So this
LG7.
Yeah, this was a surprise. Wonderful song.
Is it a wonderful song?
Yes. Oh my God. Die with a Smile. Stream it now, please. It's a great song. It's like an evergreen country adjacent ballad. And Bruno Mars apparently, I don't want to talk shit, but I think he needed the cash. I heard he...
Drag it.
I heard he was dealing with quite a large sum of debt.
It's like it's a gambling thing, right? I've heard that.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that too. Uh-oh.
So that I streamed a lot in my Uber on the way to the United Center. Okay, this is hashtag not sponsored by the State Department, but this, so Emily Amick, a friend of the pod, Emily in your phone, I needed to get a new passport. And getting a new passport is like a pain in the ass. And she's like, there's a new beta for online passport renewal.
I've heard about this.
I did it. One, you can send your own photo, which is iconic. 2,
yeah. Because mine looks awful.
Oh, mine still looks awful, by the way. It looks like...
Why would Walgreens do me like that?
Yeah. Mine, I thought I slayed it and I got it back and I was like, ooh, damn.
They apply the like underworld lurker filter to when they print it. I don't know where they got it, but it's so bad.
I actually got the hardened criminal.
Yeah, no, mine's like
on
straight to Interpol. Straight to Interpol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I look like a drug dealer in mine.
It's not giving.
If you need to renew your passport, every day at 1 p.m., the State Department website opens up a limited amount of slots, 1 p.m. Eastern. I did it all and got my passport back within a week and a half.
Wow.
Excellent.
That's like a Black Friday sale.
That's Joe Biden's
in.
America. Okay? Joe Biden's America is getting me my passport in less than 2 weeks.
Right. And that's what the people need. My group chat has been all about DNC recovery. Like, hey, are you good?
Yeah.
Good. Like, how are you feeling? And then girl rot recommendations. I am not much of a TV watcher. But when I do watch, I binge.
Okay.
And so I was looking for a bingeable show. So I went to my GenZ Girl Gang, which is the digital collective I run, Discord, to go ask folks for recs. Top of mind, came to the top, multiple people said I had to watch it, was Interview with a Vampire. Have we seen it?
Well, the Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Kirsten Dunst.
No, the show.
Okay, well, I just aged myself.
There's a new one.
There's a show,
it's a film.
and there's 2 seasons. There is a film. I think there's also a book.
Yeah.
If we want to even take it for the back.
It's
but there's a show, 2 seasons. Me and my friends are now, some of them are rewatching it. We're like live texting the episodes back and forth to each other. It's everything. It's everything. It's the perfect, gory,
you should
gay,
watch the movie.
Romantic.
I'm listening.
Binge watch. And we've also been talking about girl rot snacks.
We're going to out ourselves here as millennials. You have to define girl rot for our...
Girl rot.
I know girl rot. No, Brian, you're outing yourself as...
Oh my God. For our... I'm speaking on behalf of listeners. On behalf of listeners.
For the benefit of the audience, for the benefit of the pod, to girl rot is to lay in bed and rest, to minimize out of bed time. One might scroll, one might binge watch, one might snack, one might even cuddle. To use it in a sentence, after the DNC, I had to girl rot. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Deja, thank you so much for joining us on Vibes Only. It's been great to get your perspective on the DNC and more, and we hope to have you back.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm still riding the high vibe of the DNC. Some of my friends, like, I have post DNC blues. The energy was so good. The vibe was so high. But we have to be reminded that the margins are very, very small. High vibe, small margins. We need to meet in the middle and close those margins and work on those margins by, like Deja said, hitting the doors, making some phone calls, texting our friends, and making sure everyone we know has a plan to vote.
Exactly. We know that most people watching the convention are not swing voters. They're mostly people who either are curious or already in support of the party and Kamala Harris. And so what the real power of the convention is to get everybody rowing in the same direction. And all of the stats coming out of the convention show that we did that, and like to the nth degree. We had more than 10,000 volunteer shifts completed, over 1 million voters contacted, 200,000 new volunteer signups since Monday of the convention. And on Thursday and Friday alone, volunteers signed up for over 90,000 shifts. So there's this huge wave of momentum around VP Harris, and now it's time to do the work to turn it into a win.
As Michelle Obama said, do something.